Now, this video is directed at one of my good friends and subscribers, Redpill Lifesaver. Okay, he's been a long time sub of mine for years, and we used to go back and forth more often. But I've been laying off of Elijah Wan because I know he's a real hardcore Rockets fan. I even been laying off on some of my James Harden critique because I know he's a true blue Houston Rockets fan. But now he's a good guy though, you know what I'm saying? But left a comment that did kind of trigger me, man. And I felt that your comment was so good. Your comment was so noteworthy that I had to do a video response to this comment. I rarely do that, but I have to do a video response to this comment. All right? The video I did, and I was just talking about, I think the more appropriate comparison for LeBron is Wilt. All right? Now you say MJ is no different than Wilt or LeBron. Well, only things I can think of that they got in common is all three of these guys have, at one point in their careers or in their lifetimes, have been considered the GOAT, um, and that they've all won scoring titles. That's They got some championships each. Um, they're all going to be in the Hall of Fame. Is that what you mean? Because Magic Johnson's a Hall of Famer, and Pete Maravich is a Hall of Famer, but I don't think most people would consider those guys on the same level. Okay. Um, One thing I forgot to mention that Wilt and LeBron have in common is that I might be wrong here, and I have to maybe think this through, but I believe that LeBron James and Wilt Chamberlain are the only non-point guards to lead the NBA in assists, which goes to show you what I've been talking about. Where these guys are obsessed with their stats. Wilt, to prove that he wasn't selfish, intentionally tried to lead the NBA in assists. Just like LeBron, because he wants to be the Magic Johnson 2.0 of Showtime 2.0, intentionally is trying to lead the NBA in assists this past season. Okay? Mike never led the NBA in assists. Nah. He did lead the NBA in steals a couple times, 3 times, because that's a barrier that shows that he was focused on defense and winning and not just padding his numbers all the time. You know what I'm saying? So there's that point. Then you say Jordan choked against the Orlando Magic in the playoffs, turned the ball over in the deciding game, costing his team the series. Yep, you got me there, buddy. I mean, everybody knows that Michael Jordan turned the ball over in that deciding game, and that swung the series. I think it was Game 5. Swung the series 3 games. At that time, it made it 3-2 Orlando, and then Orlando beat Chicago in the 6th game, 4-2. Now, I got nothing to say. I mean, I could talk about rust or all that. Not even going to mention that. Jordan actually had a pretty good series. He averaged 31 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 48% overall from the floor. But he did average 4 turnovers, which is a problem that he had in that series. He was uncharacteristically turning the ball over in certain situations and not making certain shots that he normally makes in certain situations. Okay, he just didn't have a good series. Um, don't know what to say about that. I mean, I guess Jordan's the only player to falter in certain situations. Um, you know, even though I'll say this though, remember in '91 when the Rockets played the Lakers. Y'all got swept in the first round that year, by the way. And Vlade Divac looked almost like baby Abdul-Jabbar in that series. He averaged like 17 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks. You know what I'm saying? Helped to hold Hakeem to 22 points in that series. And you would think that Olajuwon would have just destroyed Vlad Divac in that series, but he did, and they got swept. And I'm just bringing that up because Hakeem Olajuwon isn't this indestructible Terminator that went through the playoffs with you know killer precision every year. I mean, everybody remembers the '95 series where he just destroyed David Robinson, right? But interestingly, if you look at their careers in the 42 games that they played against each other, David Robinson beat Hakeem Olajuwon 30 of those 42 games. Now, that would be kind of shocking if you looked it up. The stats were pretty similar. Olajuwon had a slight edge. I think he averaged like 21 points, about close to 10 rebounds, maybe 2.5 blocks, 2 steals, something like that. David Robinson, close to 20 points, maybe 9.5, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals. The stats were pretty close. A little slight edge to Olajuwon. But overall, David Robinson's teams beat that ass. The guy that supposedly is so soft dropped, I think, a couple of 40-point games against Olajuwon. So I'm just saying, I mean, if you're just going to nitpick like this, then you go on to say, because of the loss to Orlando Magic, the Bulls end up getting MJ help by signing Dennis Rodman. So you mean sort of like how when the Rockets were going nowhere in '94, '95, the Rockets got Hakeem help by trading for Clyde Drexler. Okay, let me go on. Jordan shot an atrocious 40% in the finals against Seattle and still won an NBA title thanks to Dennis Rodman, who was that series MVP. Well, Jordan, I think, actually shot 42%. But anyway, yeah. A team that had, look, that team had prime Gary Payton. That team had Nate McMillan. Okay. That team also had some other good defensive players on that team. Okay, they were a great defensive team. But you know what? That same team swept y'all ass in the semis that year, if I'm not mistaken, right? Held Hakeem Olajuwon to something like 18 points and 8 rebounds. And don't give me no shit about him being old, because this was just a year after Akeem the Dream Olajuwon swept through the fucking playoffs like a terror, okay? Culminating in his thrashing of Shaquille O'Neal in the finals. So don't give me that shit about him being old. I don't want to hear shit about the Pistons. I don't want to hear no shit about his age, okay? Because it's just 1 year later. Now, let me go further. Jordan had favorable matchups in the playoffs. But then you say he wasn't beating the '86 Celtics. So which one is it? He has favorable matchups, or he can't beat a juggernaut team like the Celtics, excuse me, not Pistons. Let me see. Favorable matchups. So in '85, he plays the Bucks, who won 59 games. In '86, he goes against the Celtics with the 3 greatest players in the front line of history. The same goes for '87. And then in '88, '89, '90, he plays against either the Cavaliers and or the Bad Boy Pistons. Yeah, that sounds like some rigged favorable matchup shit. You know what I'm saying? Um, then later on, he plays teams like the Knicks, you know what I'm saying? The Pacers later on with Reggie Miller and those guys. The Orlando Magic with Shaq and Penny. Okay. You know, you play the Atlanta Hawks with Dominique Wilkins and Stacey Augmon and Mookie Blaylock. Okay, yeah, all these easy, favorable matchups. Yeah, I see your point. Okay. He played in '97 a Bullets team that had Chris Webber, Jawan Howard, George Mirasan, Calbert Chaney, and Tracy Murray. Yeah, a team that I've said 10 years later probably won 50-some games instead of being an 8 seed. Yeah. You look at the '97 conference, the 8 seed won 44 games, the 6 seed won 54 games. Yeah, I mean, all these easy teams, all these favorable matchups. Meanwhile, kids, the Houston Rockets, when Elijah Wan was there, in his prime, I think it was 91, 92, in his absolute prime, missed the playoffs. Missed the playoffs. The last 2 years he was with the Houston Rockets, they missed the playoffs. During his entire time with the Houston Rockets, from '84 to 2001, right? So that's 17 years. 8 fucking times they lost in the first round. 8 fucking times. And not necessarily to great teams either. I'm talking about the Dallas Mavericks, the Warriors, maybe like the fucking Kings or some shit. I mean, they were losing to some teams. You're like, how the fuck they losing those guys? But yeah, Rockets lost in the playoffs in the first round 8 times. Okay? 8 fucking times. Let me go further. He was lucky he didn't face those teams like Pistons in the NBA Finals. What do you mean, like the Lakers, the Showtime Lakers? Oh, God. Okay, now I know where he's going with this shit. He's talking about, I guess, a team with a dominant center or some shit like that. Well, from what I could decipher, I think Patrick Ewing was a dominant center. Okay, was he on the same level as Akeem or Kareem? Not quite, but he's definitely a top 50 all-time player, top 40. And the Bulls, when Jordan was there, handled that team. Okay, so my thing is, look, when y'all won in '94, it was more that the Knicks lost that series rather than y'all beat them. Game 7, John Starks had the worst shooting performance of his career, and you guys only win by 6 points. Despite the fact that Patrick Ewing only shot 36% from the floor for the entire series, only averaging 18 points, the series still went 7 down to the wire. There's no way in hell, if Michael Jordan was playing that year with the Bulls, which took that team to 7 games without Jordan, there's no way in hell that the Bulls would have lost to the Knicks, and there's no way in hell those little midget guards like Vernon Maxwell and Kenny Smith would have gotten off against the Chicago Bulls. Now, Olajuwon might still put up his numbers. I grant you that. But we would have did the same thing that the Bulls did to Shaq, who is right up there with Olajuwon. Okay? You want to talk about favorable matchups? They played Shaq. What did the Bulls do? They let Shaq get off. Another great player like Penny, you can't stop him. You try to contain him as much as possible. Let Shaq get his, but shut down these other motherfuckers. And if we could shut down Nick Anderson, if we could shut down Dennis Scott, who were both 6'6" and 6'8", do you think that we couldn't shut down little ass 6'3" Vernon Maxwell and 6'3" Kenny Smith. Even Shaq said he don't understand why Brian Hill didn't try to shut down the Rocket shooters. We would have did that because Phil Jackson isn't Brian Hill. So you missed me with this favorable matchup shit. And what else do you say? When judging a player, don't just look at the NBA Finals. Look at the playoff record too. Oh, I did, my good friend. Too Raw for TV did do that. And what did you come up with, kiddies? Where are my numbers? Elijah won 2 NBA championships. Okay? And one of the greatest players of all times. But at times, even he is overrated. Akeem Olajuwon finished his career with a playoff record. I believe it was, here it is, 76 and 69, which is 7 games above 500. Not terrible. Okay, 76 and 69. So he won 52% of his playoff games. Michael Jordan finished his playoff career with a record of 119 and 60. Despite that 1-9 start you guys love to bring up, winning 66% of his playoff games, meaning he won nearly 2/3 of all of his playoff games. Not series, games. 2/3, despite the slow start against the 80s Milwaukee Bucks or the world champion Boston Celtics and the bad boy Pistons. Despite all of these great teams he was playing at the beginning, he still wound up winning nearly 2/3 of all his playoff games. While Olajuwon, having the head start, making it to the finals in '86, and having a hell of a series, I give you, because Ralph Sampson and nobody else showed the fuck up. I give him that. Okay, but these are the things about Akeem Olajuwon. Now, Michael Jordan did miss the playoffs with the Washington Wizards, but he never missed the playoffs as a Chicago Bull. He played in the Eastern Conference that was loaded with killers. And once he defeated a team, that team usually faded from existence and went to obscurity. And Michael Jordan himself changed the career trajectory of so many legends. It was Michael Jordan that kept legends like Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Patrick Ewing, and possibly Reggie Miller from winning championships. I say possibly because I'm not sure those Pacers teams would have won. Even in '98, I'm not sure they'd have beaten Utah. They could have, possibly, but I'm not sure. Olajuwon is great, but he lost. He didn't make the playoffs 3 times in his career. All right, and most stunningly, they lost in the first round 8 times. So that means 11 times in his 18-year career, Olajuwon's teams either didn't make the playoffs or they lost in the first round. That's stunning. But you want to tell me that he's greater than Michael Jordan. And I'm going to end this video on this. As sure as I know it, I don't know about 1995, But in 1994, if this was a team in 94, we would have whooped that ass too. Because Michael Jordan isn't Patrick Ewing or John Starks. Scottie Pippen, okay, Scottie Pippen is not Charles Smith. And with our experience, with Phil Jackson at the helm, because he's not Brian Hill, we would have won. That's all I got to say.